And we're live. Hi, this is Michael from the Easy Path Project, and I am back in the saddle again. I spent about 45 minutes last night explaining the basic concept of the Easy Path Project and how it can help you by following the ideas and the things that I talk about. Can really help you improve your life a great deal and easier than you ever imagined. And so that's what the question was last night. Are you ready to be who you were meant to be? And tonight the question is, what if I showed you how you could get 10 times better results for the same effort or even less? Now, I know that sounds like a bold claim, but I can back it up. I can show you. In fact, that's what tonight's all about. I've got about 12 examples of the ways that when you improve in one aspect of your life, you actually improve in others. They don't work individually. They work together. They work simultaneously in tandem or more. Once again, I'm not a mathematician. I don't know all the terminology. In fact, that's going to become very apparent here in about 5 slides when I have to read what I wrote like 3 times because I don't speak the language of mathematics. But the idea tonight is that just by doing simple things and changing your mindset, shifting the way that you see things, you'll understand that you can actually get 10 times better or even 100 times better. I mean, because once you get this one thing right, it's going to make everything else better. And I'm sitting here building it up, but I'm going to explain it too. You're going to feel good after you hear this message. Okay, so let's get started. So the questions that I'm asking tonight are, how can you make your effort 10 times more effective? A lot of people, like I mentioned last night, they spend so much time and effort like learning how to like make themselves better to do things, but then they find that that it doesn't really work out the way they expected, and so they end up looking for another video or another article or another book or another podcast or whatever, trying to get it right. And it's not because they're not doing the right things or they're not doing it right. It's that the underlying issues that are causing these things, just by their very natures, if you've got an unstable foundation, the things that you build on top of that foundation are going to be unstable. And so it really makes a lot of sense that that once you get the inner part down, the outer part will start to take care of itself. And that's the point that I'm trying to make. A single shift in your perspective, it's going to radically accelerate your journey. Like, you're going to find that things are just going to start to get easier. You're going to find that that you feel better about yourself, and that people respond better to you because you feel better about yourself. And then when they respond better to you because you feel better about yourself, you feel even better about yourself. And it's like a spiral going upwards. It's just pretty darned amazing. And that's what's so cool about this. It's not motivation. It's not that you have to try harder. It's not that you have to be disciplined. It's not that you have to go, push. Like, it's none of that. It's much, much simpler. And that's what we're going to get to here in a moment. I learned it from a magician. His name is J. Aram. He's not really a magician, but he teaches magic about how to improve the way that you think about business. And it also, after some period of time, I figured out that it also works for your personal development. What you'll find is that there's like 3 aspects of it. First of all, there's the compounding effects, so that each driver amplifies the others. It creates a multiplicative. This is where I told you I would be messing up. But it creates a multiplicative growth rather than a linear growth. So what happens is, like, when you get good at one thing and that pulls this other thing up, and that gets here, and as it gets a little bit better. That's what I just described. But you see how how it works. Yeah, it's really quite cool. I wish I had figured it out much, much sooner. The second aspect of it is that it's leverage-based thinking. So what you want to do is you want to focus on high-impact activities that yield disproportionate results. So for instance, if you've got something that you're doing kind of poorly at or whatever, but then you also have an aspect of your life or whatever that you're feeling pretty good about, well, just keep going with that thing you're feeling good about. If you're getting more and more benefits from doing that thing, do that thing. And it's just like the other part. First of all, it'll be pulled up because you're just getting better in general, but also it might be a situation where you figure out what it was that was holding you back in that. In fact, there'll be probably a couple points during this conversation tonight where you will recognize that maybe in yourself, maybe you'll have been in a situation where you say, hey, once I got past this one stumbling block or this place where I couldn't get ahead, but once I did, these other things just came along great. So don't worry so much about improving like specific things, just improve overall. That's really where we're going with this. And the last aspect of it is that adaptability and innovation, what it does is it encourages you to continually improve, and you make the strategic pivots that you need to stay ahead, that you need to keep growing. And so that's simple things like watching videos like this one, opening your mind to opportunities, to seeing things in a different way. And hopefully you'll be able to apply those things. And once again, makes everything really nice and easy. And I called it the theory, model, framework of exponential growth. Like I mentioned, it's based on J. Abraham's theories of exponential growth of business. But in this aspect, or in this discussion, we'll be talking about it as it relates to personal development, personal growth. Whoops. Okay. So this I touched on a lot last night about inner game. So like the inner game, your inner game, it's like your frame. It's like you. I mentioned the word foundational a lot, but this is like where your inner game is. Once you establish who you are, this is what you build off. And so a strong inner game, once you become confident, once you understand who you are, like you have like who you are. I don't know how to explain that any better, but it'll be a point. Like at some point you're confused as a child or whatever, you're trying to make your way through the world. But then as you get older and as you get more established, and as you do more things and learn more things, then you kind of become who you are. And so once you feel confident or once you feel strong in that, then it does help you boost your confidence. It helps you handle rejection. If somebody rejects you in any way or whatever, you just like, okay, well, it's not necessarily that it's a fault of mine. It's not like a situation where I was necessarily in the wrong. It's just that for whatever reason, I was rejected, and I deal with it and I move on. And the last part of the strong inner game, it's that it enables your authenticity. Like I touched on this again also last night. So if you didn't get to watch that, please check it out. But you really, and a lot of people are they just go with the tide or whatever, it's like whatever's popular or whatever people say or whatever their friends like or whatever their mom or their church or their government told them, that's what they're going to do. And it's like, that's not a real strong way to be. I mean, it's much better when you determine, okay, this is how I feel about this, and this is how I feel about this, this is how I think about this. And and this opens up another place where you start I don't even know how to explain this. I'm just going to skip it. We'll get back to it later. The second part is confidence. And I was touching on confidence a moment ago, but your growing confidence makes your social interactions feel easier and it reduces social pressure. It's like, once you feel confident about yourself and you feel, you know, you hear people say sometimes, loving yourself, but like maybe not so much love, but just like being compassionate or caring about yourself. It's like, okay, well, here I am, right? And this is it. And we just deal. You don't allow the pressures of society, whether it be your friends or your family or your um, peers or whatever. You don't let them uh, push you around or whatever. It's because like you are what you are. And once people understand who you are and what you stand for, and hopefully it's good stuff. If you're a fine, upstanding young man or whatever, people are going to see you in that lens as a fine, upstanding young man. And so at that point, like it helps people with their relationships, with their communication, emotional resilience. Once again, if you have a situation where you have a rejection or you have a loss or you have something that bothers you, it's like having that inner confidence, that strength that'll keep you, that'll help you hold it together. It'll help you move on and, hopefully take the right steps. And so you don't run into the situations again, if there's something that could have been avoided. And if it's something not, that it's just something that you have to deal with. The saying is always that whatever it is that doesn't kill you only makes you stronger. Well, the things that you have to deal with, the things you have to be resilient emotionally, those are the things that are actually going to build you up. The next point is self-worth. And that's when you believe in your values, and you attract healthier relationships and you navigate rejection with ease. So once again, just a moment ago, when I was talking about, what was the exact term I wanted to use? Emotional resilience. Anyway, but that will, when you set boundaries. So say for instance, like there's a girl with purple hair or something, and you come from a more traditional family or whatever, and you say, well, I don't date girls with purple hair or whatever. And so you set that as a boundary. It's like outside of your things. And so you don't have to worry about it anymore. We also set boundaries like, okay, well, I'm not going to be pushed around or I'm not going to be treated this way. So for instance, like if somebody ghosts you or if somebody cancels on a date or makes a comment that might not be so kind or so polite, and it allows you the opportunity to say, hey, look, that's great that you think that you could be this way, but like that's where it kind of butts up against who I am. And so we're going to have an issue with that. And so once you get a strong self-worth, that's the sort of thing that you will find becomes easier to deal with. And so, like I mentioned also, it's like if you do have a strong self-worth, like if you understand, your inherent worth, your inherent value, it's like you can deal with things. Like if you do have that loss, or you do have that rejection, or you do have that situation that you have to deal with, you feel better about it because you're a strong person. You've developed the emotional resilience to deal with it. Also, it helps you refine and reinforce your authenticity. I mean, once again, like, it's almost like a Superman logo on your chest. Like when you're a certain kind of person and people can count on you to be that person. It's like, then that is like who you are. You're like an authentic person. There's like no question like this, I don't have to worry if somebody thinks that I'm acting or whatever. They know that I am what I am. the air just kicked on. So hopefully this noise canceling will cut that out. Otherwise, it's going to jack up the audio. So mindset, I talked about it last night, and like in the core concepts of the Easy Path Project philosophy. But the mindset that I want you to take out of all of this, I mean, the idea behind the Easy Path Project is that you find ways that you can grow that's easy, but that that when you have a situation, that you like can evaluate that situation through the lens of a lesson rather than a failure or a setback. You know, I mentioned last night the approaching at the gym or whatever. That was just a silly thing that I was bringing up, and I couldn't think of anything funny. I still haven't thought of anything funny. But like if you're in a situation where, you know, you do get rejected for whatever reason, it's more of a lesson. It's like, okay, well, I did this wrong, or I didn't do that right. For instance, you know, what if you went up to a girl and you said hello and she was all smiley and like you were all smiley, and you forgot to ask for her number or whatever, and then you walk back and you're like, don't. It's like, okay, well, it wasn't necessarily a failure because the interaction itself was great. You know, you just had a situation where for whatever reason you didn't close the deal, and so you learn. It's like mental note to self, you know, next time ask for the number, and don't beat yourself up. You don't have to feel bad about it. It's just I mean, every single person makes mistakes every single day, and we can't go around beating ourselves up, or else just nothing would get done other than oh yeah, I was going to say there's probably some things that you know, that you really need to take it to heart if you make a mistake or whatever. But the things that I'm talking about are not. But in the sense that when you build up your mindset, when you build up your core and your foundation, even those situations, even traumatic, horrible stuff, like you're going to be able to deal with that better because you're a stronger person. You're a better person. You've gotten rid of the things that were the limitations, and just you're allowing the coolness to shine through. Anyway, but some of the points that I made about having a strong mindset and developing a strong mindset is that it does help you with handling rejection. It also helps you grow faster and stronger and be more secure, more confident in the things that you're doing and how you're doing them. And also, once you start to feel comfortable and in your own skin, like people just feel more confident or comfortable around you. It's yeah, there's a term for that, like a self-reinforcing term, and I'm not sure what that term is. Relationships, so there's like these different points of relationships, right? Okay, so if you don't have a relationship at this point and you're trying to get into a relationship, you have to kind of have a set of things that you consider. So like a set of considerations. Okay, well, this is the things that I need to do to get myself into a relationship. Okay, well, once you're into a relationship, then you're going to have the different phases, and you're going to have the different things that you need for those different aspects of the relationship. And so, you know, at the beginning, you're going to be working on your social skills and your communication and your emotional resilience, right? The things we've just talked about, you know, feeling confident, approaching someone, then actually talking to them. And last night, I actually went into a little bit of a talk about how you can always be able to enjoy a good conversation with someone. And so if you haven't seen that, check that out. The very first live stream I did. But what's funny is that So I laid out these things, the social skills, communication, and emotional resilience. Okay, well, that's what you need for the beginning of a relationship. Well, what if you're like in the early stages of a relationship? Well, you also need social skills, communication, and emotional resilience. And then what if you get into a long-term, healthy, happy family relationship? Well, you need social skills, communication, and emotional resilience. Like you're going to be learning lessons at each point and each thing that you learn. There's in one of my sources I read about handhold lessons. And it's like sometimes you learn lessons only to the point like where you can reach and grasp the next lesson. And then so you're pulling yourself up, and each time that you've reached a level of understanding or whatever, then you can reach for that next level of understanding. And it's the same way with relationships. It's like once you feel confident with the beginning stage of your relationship, and you can just carry that into a maturing relationship or a long-term relationship, and each of those things will assist you um, in all of your relationships, whether it be personal or private, family, work, social. All of these things are going to benefit. That's it. I mean, nothing more to be said, really. That just step by step, you're going to get better, and once you get better, you're going to find it's reinforcing what you've got going on in other places. So, what do you think? I mean, does this make sense? The idea of exponential growth, so that in each of these things that you're learning, that they're going to make the other things that you learn easier. They become easier to apply, and they become reflexive. And once they become reflexive, things just start to get smoother. It's like if you've had a lot of friction, or you feel like you're banging your head against the wall. That's what this starts to do. It's like, first of all, because I've mentioned it's the easy path, right? I want it to be the easy way. But I want to know, like, the ways that I'm explaining it, it just feels like I'm repeating the same thing over and over, but it is the same thing over and over, the idea. So I wonder what you think. Let me know in the comments or on the live stream here. And also, if you know someone who finds this stuff information, finds it helpful or useful, please share this video. You can get the link and share that and help them out. I'd like to have them come hang out with us on the live streams. Once I get out of this no viewers or low viewers uh, beginning phase, it's going to be a lot more of a situation where I'm going to be talking with you and interacting and listening to what you have to say, and then sharing my ideas about what you've said, and we'll see where it goes from there. At this point, I'm just having to talk to fill up airtime, but also I'm sharing the ideas that I've got with the algorithm from YouTube, so that they can categorize these videos properly. So thank you for hanging out so that we can talk about this stuff. I've got like six more points to make real quick here, and then we'll let you get to thinking about this. Okay, so next point is social skills. Okay, so if you've developed your social skills, or you are developing your social skills, those better social skills enhance communication, they reduce social pressure, and build confidence. As you do that, you strengthen the relationships and your emotional resilience. Communication, this is a big deal. I feel like a lot of people talk to people or at people or over people or through people. Sometimes you almost like are not really communicating. You're just mimicking communicating. You're talking, but you're not really saying anything. And that's one of the ideas that I think that is really important. If you learn communication skills, that's probably going to be one of the best things ever for you. I recall listening to a lady talk one time about how instead of spending money to send her child to college, she sent her to um, neuro-linguistic programming therapy training so that she could learn how to communicate and learn how to be a therapist to help people. And that really got me to thinking, was like, the education is great and the degree is great, but it's like the ability to communicate is like the most important thing that you have um, when it comes to like your social life or your personal life. Or so, I would suggest that if you were going to choose one of these, to choose communication to be the focus of your efforts at first, like just learning how to feel more confident speaking to people. And once you feel more confident communicating, that fosters authentic connections and smooths social interactions. So once again, it's not a situation where, if you learn how to communicate well, that you'll just do well with your friends. It's also that you'll do well with your teachers, or you'll do well with your bosses, or your ministry, your church, or some girl at the Whole Foods in the bakery or whatever. I mean, everything that you've learned about how to communicate well is going to be applicable to every opportunity you have to communicate. And so, just by the nature of that growth, all types of your relationships are going to improve, and you're going to feel better in conversations. You're going to feel better like going in groups. You're going to feel better alone. And once you feel better about that, like the social friction just kind of like eases, it like dissipates. It's not a situation anymore where you have any concern about how you're going to be able to communicate with somebody. You're just going to be able to communicate. And there's even situations now where I'll run into somebody that it might be a little bit of an effort at first, but I just sit there and think, okay, well, I've talked to people like this before, or I've been in situations like this before, and I'll just apply that and kind of ease into the conversation. And before long, it's just like a nice, pleasant interaction. And multiply that out times all of your interactions, and that makes for a really good day. Self-awareness. I mentioned last night about self-awareness, like your introspection, um, evaluating who you are, and really like what and who you are. Um, a lot of people lead with, like for instance, on a date or whatever. Oh, well, what do you do? Where do you go to school? Or all of these things. And that's not who the person is. That's what they do or what they did, or it's all external stuff. But the self-awareness, the introspection, that's where you really, once you start digging into that, and sometimes it can be no fun. I mean, there's been times where I've had to really dig into some parts of my personality or whatever best, and having to figure out why, like what causes me to be this way, or why would I think that this is a good way to be? I mean, all of these different little ideas that start floating around in your head, and you just gotta kind of wrangle them and get an understanding of who you are, and who you want to present. I mean, this gets back to the authenticity and of who you are. And once you understand that, it makes the other aspects easier. But once again, I made the note here that it helps you handle your rejection and build your authentic relationships. I mean, when you're confident in yourself, like, oh, there was that old movie, like The Big Lebowski, and if somebody says something to you, and it's like, well, that's your opinion, man. It's like it's not true. It's just your opinion or somebody's opinion or whatever. It's like if you've spent the time thinking about who you are, then you know who you are. And regardless of what somebody else says about who you are or what you are, you can know it's like, yes, that is true, or no, that's just your opinion, man. Handling rejection. I find that a lot of times the reason that you have to deal with rejection is because you've built something up, and like you've made something larger than, like you've applied some kind of value to a situation or whatever that it might not warrant. You don't necessarily have to, like for instance, like say you see a girl, at work every day or whatever, you don't have to like build up that this girl is the girl and you got to talk to her and you got to be this and you got to be that. It's like, well, no, she's just another girl. If you can trust the statistics, there's like about 4.5 billion of them. It's like, okay, well, even if you strike out with this girl, and that's actually something that I would like to discuss here in a second. But even if you strike it out with this girl, it's like, well, the one thing it would maybe cause issues in your workplace, but the world would not end. Like if you were just polite, it's like, hey, oh, hey, Sally, would you like to uh, pick up coffee with me or whatever? And if she says no, you say, okay, cool. Well, take it easy. Next. Anyway, but there was a old this comedian. He did a routine about how a guy in a nightclub goes up to a girl and tries to pick her up, and she shoots him down, and then like the DJ stops the music and says something about the guy who just got rejected. It's like, no, it's nothing like that at all. Like the world is not going to end because some girl doesn't want to go out with you or whatever, or even have anything to do with you. It's like, okay, well, you actually did me a favor, because if you were, lukewarm on me or whatever, if you weren't into me, then it really wasn't doing myself any favors to be hanging out with you. So by you rejecting me, you did me a favor. You let me save my time, move on to somebody who's, uh, more into me. So yeah, it's just all about how you reframe it. And once you do that, like this is going to be able to support your social skills and your mindset shifts towards positive growth. I mean, it's like, okay, well, I got rejected, big deal, move on. And there's only so many ways that I can say that. I tell you what. Okay, so the next thing is that by applying this to personal growth, like all other aspects of your personal growth are going to grow. It's like, I wish that I had the J. Abraham transcript that I learned this about. It was really interesting, but he has a very interesting way of talking, and it is very difficult to just summarize. I mean, it's fun, but it's a curious style of speaking that he has, and so there's that one little step where I'm thinking, okay, um, it's the point where each one each one of these things that I'm talking about. So tonight, for instance, I'm laying out 12 points. Well, each one of these 12 points, if you improve each one just like 1%, or if you improve like your social skills like 4%, or your empathy skills 2%, or whatever, it's like all the others like rise with it. What is it they say? The rising tide lifts all boats. And that's kind of what this situation is. And I made another comment about communication here. It's like once you learn to communicate, you'll find that a lot of the other things that you thought were issues are not really issues. It's like, and if you learn what's holding you back from being able to communicate, then that's when you'll really start to see the benefit. Oh, and more, more emotional resilience stuff. There's so many things that we're afraid of. I think I read something the other day, even as far back as like Seneca, what in Rome, he was talking about how the things that we're afraid of, the things that we fear, they're not real. I'll look up that quote so I don't have to leave you hanging. But and even Mark Twain said something about that. It's like all the sleepless nights worrying about things, and some of those things actually happened. It's like the majority of the things he was laying in bed worrying about just never ever happened. It's just like really pointless to fear things that I mean, they're a possibility or whatever, but you know, you're a strong person, so you can deal with it. And if you don't apply any unearned or unreal if you don't make it into something that it's not, then it's not that thing. Whatever. I mean, I know that there's about 17 different ways to describe each of these things, and I think I've used up all of the 17. But the point is that once you start getting your head wrapped around this, you'll find that rejection is no longer an issue, and that it will improve your internal your strength and foundation. And you'll find that the things that you once worried about are not things that you worry about in the future. Like they just diminish in the amount that they can actually inhibit you. Like you'll just feel better. You'll just move forward, and because you've grown and because you're growing, you'll find it smoother. And the last of the points is the authenticity. I've actually got an entire lesson that I'm starting to put together on authenticity. I don't have my notes with me right now, but I've touched on it enough. You can tell that that's important. When you're authentic, I mean, like I said, people start to get an understanding of who you are. Like they can identify if it's good things, or they can aspire to those things if it's even better things, you know, or they can just feel good, perhaps because you have demonstrated that this is who you are. And so, like, because they know who you are, now they can embrace that. They can be part of that. It's like when you're fake, like when you're false, or when you have pretenses or whatever. For example, I recall reading something to the effect of, like, you know, if you feign, you know, that you're rich when you're poor, so you'd like to keep up appearances, it's like that, you know, that you're basically keeping help away. And you know, that, say for instance, that if somebody wanted to help you and was willing to help you and would help you, but you were pretending you didn't need help, so the help is not forthcoming. But when you're authentic, then the relationship will be authentic. That will help you with your confidence because you'll be who you are. You'll feel better about who you are because you've embraced it. And also, you'll be able to communicate better. You'll be able to let people know the truth of a situation. And that's also something that I've got quite a bit of stuff to talk about, is being honest, being truthful, both to yourself and to your friends and to the situation. But once you feel authentic and feel confident in yourself, your social skills improve, social pressure reduces. You don't feel like you have to be anything, or, I mentioned at great length last night about the performing monkey. You don't have to be a performing monkey. You're who you are, and you come into a situation and people deal with you as who you are. So it really feels nice when that happens. Oh, there was one more. I thought that was the last one, but there's one more. Social pressure. It is a situation like, for instance, like if you go into a room full of strangers or whatever, it's natural to feel like a bit of anxiety or whatever, but it's not like you have to be worried. It's just like, for instance, like if you fell into a pool or whatever, the first thing you do is you look for something to hang on to. It's like if you find yourself in a situation like at a party or at a social event and you don't really feel comfortable, but you don't know anybody or anything, you just look for opportunity to like reach out or to establish some kind of stability, or like to establish yourself in the group. That might be seeing somebody wearing a Van Halen t-shirt. It's like, oh, hey, that's cool t-shirt. Did you go see them or whatever? Boom, you're instantly just talking. And now, instead of being a stranger at a party, you're sitting there chatting with somebody. Well, other people, who might not have approached you or whatever, might come over. And so, say, for instance, a girl that might think you're cute and knows the guy you're talking to comes up and says hi to the guy talking to, hoping that he's going to introduce you to her. I mean, do you see how this all starts to kind of mesh together? It's like the idea of feeling confident who you are and then getting out. My buddy Shane used to say get amongst. It's like once you get out and start, once you start just being among people, then that will really help you to feel better when you're among people. And it just grows and grows and grows from there. And it helps in personal growth, and it helps in handling rejection. What if that girl, like, maybe didn't like you so much or whatever, and so she turns around and leaves? Well, you're still talking to that cat about his Van Halen t-shirt. Maybe another girl comes up, or maybe another situation for you to talk comes up. I mean, all of these things become an opportunity as you allow them to become an opportunity. Okay, so let's see. Okay, finally, that was indeed the last of the points that I wanted to make. But the overall idea behind this exponential effect of personal growth is that instead of improving just one thing at a time, so every single area is going to be boosting up all of the other areas, it creates compounding growth. And so as that growth compounds, you actually start to feel better. And it just builds on itself. And strengthening self-worth, building up your authenticity, your inner game, your confidence, your self-worth fuels confidence, which enhances the communication that we were just discussing. It enriches your relationships, because each person that you talk to, you're going to be talking to them authentically. You're going to be communicating with them as a person, as a human. And that's going to make all of your conversations and your communications better, richer, deeper. When you feel better about your relationships and your communications with other people, then you feel more authentic, like, because that builds who you are. Okay, well, I'm a person who has friends, or I'm a person who speaks proudly of my, my traditions, or my feelings, or my convictions. I mean, you start to feel better. And finally, I bet this is the last slide of all, or next to the last slide. And over time, your personal growth accelerates exponentially. I mean, once it starts building upon itself, it just keeps going from there. And it makes that transformation feel natural. It's like if you feel like you're having to fight everything and push and force, like that just drops away. It's like, okay, well, this is much easier than I ever imagined it would be. And that's really the secret, the magic behind the exponential growth. Yeah, and that's what I'm offering to help you walk your way through. It's not hard. I mean, that's the real fun part about this. It's like none of it's difficult. It's very easy. Once you start to feel good about what you're doing, it gets easier to do that, and then you just make more progress, and then it gets easier and builds and builds and builds and builds. Anyway, if you're getting any value from this video, please feel free to like it and leave a comment. I mentioned earlier, the reason that I do these live streams is because I would like to build up a community. I'd like to make friends and to make acquaintances and to some buddies maybe, and really get some growth going. Like, so far it's just been personal growth. It's been my personal growth. Well, I'd like to share this, and I'd like to, for each of us to share growing together. And that's when things start to really get fun. Anyway, and also if you like the live streams and you want to join in, click the subscribe button and make sure that you turn on notifications, because I just go live sometime between 7 and 8 p.m. and I really don't know exactly when. And so if you have your notifications set, it will hopefully let you know, because when I go live, I go live. Anyway, but like I mentioned, please leave a comment. Let me know how what you think about these ideas I've shared tonight, and the idea of exponential growth. Once you grasp that concept and start to apply it, I think that things will start to go much better for you, and it'll be surprising how much better. Anyway, so that's where we end tonight. Anyway, but thank you for joining me, and thanks for listening to me drone on, and hopefully you got something from this. And if you enjoyed it, come back and see me tomorrow night. I'll be here sometime between 7 and 8, and we'll talk about some more personal growth with the Easy Path Project. Take care. Good night.